So I was reading Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil the other day, and naturally that gives rise to all sorts of existential musings. And I wrote something, and I shared it with Patrick, and Patrick pointed out, and I might add quite rightfully so, just how unfortunately poetic my language might have become. And I think that probably happened partly as a result of, well, okay. So I would hope that I could say that the reason that it's so artistic and poetic is because I'm trying to convey something that's a deeper mystery than could be conveyed with the clarity of thought that might be appreciated by the scientific mind. But then you read somebody like Aquinas talking about, I don't know, the mystery of the Trinity or the Incarnation, and it's like, oh, Josh, no, this is just a matter of your inability to express it clearly. All the same, I enjoyed writing it, and looking back, I actually enjoy reading it too, and so I thought that I would read it here. Notice that beauty, so often, is found in intricacy. It's the detail and balance that seems to strike us, and the proper rending of that balance that strikes us most. Without naturals, the sharps and flats wouldn't pierce our souls. Without darkness, we would have the white of a blank page. A dance is most graceful when the entire body comes into harmony with rhythm and flow, and the face of the most beautiful stranger could not match the radiance of details and depths shining forth through the gaze of the beloved. In every one, such beauty, there's a balance, and with that balance comes a completeness. Seeing here how our hearts unveil all the mess of complexity in creation, and here how the world is all the more beautiful for it, I wonder how this balance might play out under another aspect. I wonder, and I believe, that the truth is just so detailed and complicated as beauty. Perhaps beauty is the human rejoinder at these depths and completenesses of truth. Nietzsche, with his bold wit and confident bravado, champions power. He raises it above truth and beauty as the arbiter, defender, and glory of life, and what is driven to such power but the human will. For this will to power dignifies those depths of the individual, the simple depths hidden, with the glory of manifestation and dominion. Power here brings life, the life of the soul out in the world. Liberated from truth, we abandon the tyrannies of abstraction and categorization, which would bind the will into the machine, sapping its power for the machinations of a greater mind. How dangerous, because how compelling is his argument. Not because it is not flawed, not because it contains no falsity. Its foundations are false, and the tower falls to that falsity. But it is dangerous because it is also true. Nietzsche stands with the great heretics, proclaiming only a part of the truth. He declares the will to power and the sterility of truth, but he lacks what I think he would purport to seek, a fullness of life. This is because he has missed the point of power. He has missed love. Eve missed it too. She sought to be like God, believing after Marduk and Set that power is the key to life. Nietzsche is right to caution the rationalism of his time after we so often fell to knowledge, modeling this after our same ancestor. His mistake is to forget what else she was seeking. For her greatest mistake was her abandonment of love, favoring power of her own for her greatest expression and fulfillment. Seeking to flower alone, she blocked out the sun. But she sought life, though that tree would now be guarded against her by that power, as does Nietzsche. And her pride, her desire for power, though flawed, was a type of self-love. She wanted to be like God, and after all, what he offers us is a type of deification. Yet if one's life is to be garnered by one's own power, then that power, an active life, must flow out of oneself. It is almost too simple to say, and yet Eve discovers it only in terror. She hides. She knows she is no match for life itself. And how fortunate that life itself walked by, and seeing its lovely little life through the veil of the fig bush, remembers the full answer to power, the depths of love. So he offers her skins and sends her off to learn the place of power in life. Through all the ages of suffering and passion, she receives and gives in the exchanges of acts where power is meant to dwell in the bosom of love. She learns what it means to complete her being. Power alone, so close and dear and robust in the soul, cannot bring it to completion without the relation to the Father in grace, source of power and love. For the full expression of one's self only comes through the reception of the power of God. The power of that self could not be full save that one exception, and it is only the exception that saves, the Savior that is exceptional. Why all this talk of power after beginning with beauty? Perhaps because the Germans found something terribly beautiful in the power of Wagner and Goethe and Nietzsche. But also because the entire point of all of it is love, and power is love sterilized. And if beauty is to be found in completion, so might power in love. And if we can find this completion, this comprehensiveness, I think we can find the truth too. Not the truth as we find it in the books, tables, and figures, but the truth standing before us, the truth impassioned and opened to enfold all in its arms. In these qualifications and nuances, in the details of the truth as in the details of beauty, the truth looks to us from the cross to be sure we have gotten the full point. Love won that day, and that day love died by the power of men. But through undergoing death, love proved its claim to life, and it rose not to condemn the power of men, but to show it what that power is for. It is beautiful because it is complete. It is beautiful because of so much more. Can you not see that it is the truth because of this completeness too? And so I say all of these things with the flower language that I did, trying to communicate a certain point. And that's that what we find in Nietzsche, this culmination of modern philosophy, I think the end of the moderns in a certain respect, is the very corruption that's at the heart of the sin of man, the sin of the garden, the sin of Eve in taking the fruit. And I'm still having to work out the concrete, the rigorous way of expressing this point. But I think that power is love minus its most important thing, or love incomplete, just as the heresies are immensely powerful because they have something incredible. And I think it's no coincidence that I'm using the word power to describe this. That in these ideas, in the absolutisms that are the heresies, there's a great power. And the thing that's wrong with them isn't necessarily an entire falsity, isn't that there isn't something behind them, because there is great power in these words, there is great power in these ideas. There's a lot of power in Plato. It's in the fact that they're incomplete. And without that completeness, neither can they be beautiful, nor can they be loving, nor can they find the fullness of the truth. And so, as we would speak and fight against the ideas of Nietzsche, so I think that we would fight against all sorts of incompletenesses. And this wouldn't be by a sheer rejection and denial of all of the things that he says, but by a proper attention to them in their real power and goodness, so that we might bring them to their completion, which is their fulfillment in truth, founded in love.